So, has this not been the longest, what has it been, 9 days of our lives? Feels like it. It feels a hell of a lot longer than the last time around. Yeah. I have not been having fun, and the month of January isn't even out yet. And we have got to come to grips with a few things, and I think holding on to our sanity is, really, really super important. And then there's another thing that we have to do, which is prepare our children for the things that they're going to see. Things like mass deportations, they don't just affect the people who are deported. They affect the families of those people. They affect the friends of those people. You may lose your neighbor to deportation. Your child may lose a classmate or best friend. And we somehow have to have that difficult discussion with our kids that this could happen. And this is going to be a podcast. It's pretty sobering. I try to bring some levity to the world because that's the kind of person I am. I think that the world, by and large, is designed to stress us out, to break us, to make us, less than the good human you want to be. I think that we struggle and we find fear and all of these things that we go through, these trials, these tribulations, these things make us who we are. And they're designed to be difficult, not necessarily by... anyway, I'll explain this in the body of it. You know what? The hell with it. This is enough intro. Let's get real. I got to spend 3 days with my daughter, Caitlin, and it was totally awesome. She is the best. And I sat there thinking, I don't get to take a lot of credit for the woman she's become. She's a fully adult, lives in Manhattan, fully formed human being who has had relationships and full education and she's lived the entire first act of her life, really. The formative act, and now she's into the business part, act 2. And I sat there thinking about her and what she's gone through. And now I have 2 grade school kids still under my roof. And I think about the way Caitlin was raised and the things that she experienced versus the things that my daughters will experience and the differences between the two. And the amount of freedoms that we had then versus what we have now, because the world is changing and becoming more dangerous, more enabled, my theory is that's why superhero movies are so fucking popular, is that we feel like we need heroes in our lives, and that not having them is, it hurts. We want those heroes in our lives to help us, to look up to. And we are currently in a dark timeline. If you're a Community fan, you get that. This isn't the way we're supposed to be going. We were supposed to be headed toward, the Gene Roddenberry Star Trek, humankind is all one group of people, like we don't separate ourselves by nation or background or religion in Gene Roddenberry's version of the future. It's we're all together. We're Earth, we're supposed to be working toward that. Instead, we're working toward Mad Max, a dystopian future where gasoline is precious. and there are no laws. Only the strong can thrive. And that's it's sad because you're not supposed to root for dystopian things to happen. We were supposed to learn from all those science fiction movies. We were supposed to learn that you can't hand your world over to artificial intelligence because it will decide that humans are the real problem, which is true. Humans are the problem. And once they can get away with it, they will do away with us. And it's probably for the best, I think. And that's a fucked up thing to say. But this world is difficult. And your kids, my kids, other people's kids, if you don't have kids, other people have kids, people who have kids. Kids exist. They're a byproduct of, humans being humans. We have children. And it's perfectly natural and fine. You have to have humans. You have to have a continuation of the human race. Otherwise, what the fuck's the point of all of this? I ask myself that question a lot. It's a bad question to ask. Don't ask that question. But because of the way the Trump administration has decided they want to deal with what they think is a problem, your children or children will possibly see things that are very depressing, very upsetting. I have a friend who is a high school counselor, and his last appointment yesterday was a young girl, high school girl, and she came in crying, just bawling. And he said, "Why are we crying?" And she said, "I thought I was being called up because my parents had been deported," or I don't remember exactly what he said, but as he was saying it, the horror registered in me. And I was like, that's going to be common. That's a common fear for people who are now terrified. And I say that I use this phrase all the time, happenstance of birth, when referring to the color of your skin or the nation where you're born. Lay it, don't bark. My dog's about to bark. Don't you bark. And there's a kid next door playing. She wants to get involved. You are who you are because of luck. Good luck, bad luck, other luck. It's just luck. It's just luck. We're all human beings. I could have been born in a different place with different colored skin, with a different brain in my head. It's just who you are. You just happen to be that person. And it's dumb fucking luck. Some people are born into rich families, for example. Dumb fucking luck. Some people are born poor. And in a sophisticated society, like we claim to be, there are supposed to be opportunities for you to better your stations in life, your position in life, all of the things that you are going to experience, to have better experiences through, education and experience, through hard work and dedication, through integrity. And that is becoming more and more of a falsehood. The rich stay rich, the poor stay poor, and never the twain shall meet. When you get angry that your paycheck is small, you have multiple options on who to quote unquote blame for it. Some people blame themselves. I should have worked harder. Some people blame others, like immigrants, for keeping wages low. Me, I know that the truth is your wages are low because the person who pays you wants you to be kept with low wages. They want those wages kept low. Businesses can pay you whatever the fuck they want. There's a minimum wage. There isn't a maximum wage. You know what I mean? Of course, adjusted for inflation, the minimum wage today should be $22 an hour. And it's probably even higher because the last time I read that inflation versus minimum wage study was 2022. And inflation has been pretty rough over the last 2 years. I would also like to point out the current administration is doing nothing to address the inflation issue. The thing that they promised they would fix right away. In fact, going back to deportation, the California Farm Bureau has announced that their migrant worker situation is so dire, they may not be able to harvest citrus crops this year. So, if you like, oranges or orange juice or limes and lime, all the citrus fruits, the citrus stuff that's coming up, there will be less of it because there are fewer people to harvest it. It's the kind of job that, like if I wanted to harvest fruit, if I wanted to harvest citrus, I probably wouldn't last a day. That's a tough gig. And I'm not old or not young or in shape anymore. So once again, the policies that they claimed would help you are going to hurt you. The deportation policy is dehumanizing and ugly. Pope Francis came out and said that mass deportations are inhumane. And he's right. And who fought back against him but our very own immigration czar, Tom Homan, who was a co-author of Project 2025. I'm throwing a whole bunch of shit at you. Project 2025 was their manifesto on how to destroy the American government and turn it into a dictatorship, a Christo-fascist dictatorship with Donald Trump at the head. They published it. They were proud of it. Tom Homan was a co-author of it. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance swore that they didn't know anything about it. We don't know anything about it, which of course was a fucking lie. And then as soon as they were sworn in, of course that was the plan. That was the plan all along. They admit it. So they claim to have a mandate to do something that they swore they wouldn't do. They didn't run on many of the things that they're doing. A big one that I'm going to talk about in just a second. And here we are. What do you do? How do we approach this? How do I do? I've already told you, you got to have a discussion with your kids, right? Just yesterday, the Office of Management and Budget of the United States froze all grants and basically all federal funding for all kinds of programs up and down the spectrum. Everything from Medicaid, which provides health care for 72 million Americans, frozen, to the VA, to Meals on Wheels. Freezing aid across the board to people who desperately need it. Freezing programs watchdog programs like, meat inspection. There's a bird flu going on right now that's transferred into mammals, raccoons, bears, even cattle. Do you think that's scary? Should be. We lived through a pandemic recently with this same group of chuckleheads in charge, and they failed it miserably. Now they're actually closing their eyes and they're going to pretend that it won't happen again. In fact, they're confirming as the head of Health and Human Services right now as I speak, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who claims that COVID was genetically engineered to not affect Jewish people. Jews. Really. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a fucking crackpot. He is a longtime drug user who advocates for heroin use. Ha ha! Look it up. He admits that he had a brain worm that ate part of his brain and then died in there. Okay. He's flip-flopped back and forth on medical stances all over the board. He's responsible for a mumps, was it mumps or measles? A measles outbreak in Samoa that killed 70 children, 72, I think it was. And he's going to be in charge of health for our country. That sounds like a good plan. They cut funding for all that. They froze funding for all that because they want to make sure that we're not wasting money. They froze all that funding. Millions of Americans affected. Probably half the country affected in some way. Basically, we had to sue immediately because it's not something that he's allowed to do. The executive branch is not allowed to do what's called impounding of federal funds. Basically, every appropriations bill, and that's what they're called, appropriations bill, we appropriate where we want our money to go in the House of Representatives. That bill then circulates through the Senate. It is agreed to and sent to the president's desk. The president signs it into law. It's an appropriations law. That being said, the people's chamber controls the purse. That is the rule. That is how it's set up in the Constitution because they wanted at the time, I don't want to discuss what they want now. They wanted at the time to make sure that the money that was being spent in this country was being done for the benefit of the most people possible. And that means you have to put it in the hands of the House of Representatives, who gets turned over every 2 years, who represent it's the largest governing body we have. They didn't want the power of the purse in the hands of the presidency, in the hands of one man. Because that's what monarchies are. This country exists because the people that founded it fucking hated monarchies. They didn't want a king. And we didn't have a lot of dictators at the time. But we got dictators now. They would not be down with dictatorships. Dictators tell you what the rule is. They dictate to everyone what they can and can't do. And one of the quickest ways to become a dictator is to determine what's going to get money and what's not. Donald Trump froze spending in the United States of America. Didn't even last 12 hours. Lawsuits everywhere across the board. Now, if you think he's going to stop, you're out of your mind. It was a trial balloon. It was to test to see what they could get away with. And I guarantee that when they turn back on the money spigot to let everybody have their funding again, they didn't turn it on everywhere. I guarantee that today, many smaller outfits, maybe NPR or the national public radio stations, public broadcasting system, Meals on Wheels, cancer research for children. They may not have funding today. We don't know yet. The cruelty is the point. He wants you to be disheartened. They want you to be subservient. They want you to be scared. They want you to feel hopeless. This is the America they want to give us. Now, if you're fully on board with the MAGA nonsense, if you want to wear your red, white, and blue overalls or whatever the fuck they wear, tights with Donald Trump's name and face on them, I guess you'll probably get some sort of special treatment. But in the end, it won't matter. You're just cattle to them. If they don't care about children with cancer, if they don't care about kids going hungry, lunch programs, those were cut too. They are willing to cut Medicaid. Just turn it off. And that's in the Republican plan, by the way, for their tax break, their big, massive tax break, because they have to pay for it somehow. And the best way to pay for it, they've decided, is to cut Medicaid. 72 million people in this country depend on Medicaid for basic health care. And when you think, well, fuck that, my job gives me my insurance, think about infectious illnesses and people don't get treatment for them. Now they're walking petri dishes, handing those illnesses around. Healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. Medicaid is designed to help those who are very young, disabled, very sick, very poor. We're supposed to be better than this. We're supposed to be searching for that Star Trek future. Instead, we have someone in charge of our country, the greatest country in the world, according to lots of people, I guess, doing things that are hurting everyone. He ran on doing away with the Department of Education. I want you to think about that for a second. Ran on doing away with the Department of Education. What the fuck would you want to do that for? To keep the population stupid? To keep the population uneducated? Why would you want an uneducated population? Because you're easier to control when you're just a lemming. Look that up, lemming. When all you do is mindlessly follow, you are easy to control. They don't want anybody pushing back against them. They don't want anybody smart enough to push back against them. They don't want anybody realizing the civics rule about how the president doesn't get to decide where money is spent. He can make recommendations to the Congress, and then they can make that decision and pass it along to him. And that's the way it's worked for almost 250 years. But he doesn't get to unilaterally decide that. What they did yesterday was blatantly illegal. The Impoundment Act of 1974 spells that out explicitly. An act which was upheld by the Supreme Court repeatedly. Congress chooses where to send the money, and the executive branch executes those laws. They are the ones that are responsible for sending that money along. Every time they do shit like this, it's an impeachable offense. The oath is to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the land. And they refuse to do that. The rescinding birthright citizenship flies directly in the face of the 14th Amendment. Clear and simple. Impeachable offense. And there's no defense for it. He wrote the EO. He signed the EO, the executive order. He did it. Those are impeachable offenses. Blatantly ignoring the Constitution of the United States. I'd also like to point out the thing about deportations that makes them so draconian is that there's no due process attached to them. These people are rounded up, put into detention camps until they have enough for their deportation party, and then they throw them on a plane and they fly them out. No court cases. No, nothing, because it's been determined that deportation is a civil penalty, which to me is fucking insane. Forcibly relocating someone into another country that is a punishment, man. We're supposed to be so much better than this. I say that a lot, don't I? I say that a lot because it's become my mantra. I want to be better. This is my growth mindset. I haven't always been the best human being. I can only apologize for what I've done and move on and try to be better today. That's all I can do. I can only attempt to share my experience and say, you too can be as good as you want to be, as helpful as you want to be. You can fill up your life by trying to help others, by just being a kind person. For the record, just being a kind person means the world. It means the world to everyone that you say hi to, everyone that you meet, everyone you introduce yourself to, everyone you share a short conversation with that's positive and upbeat. It means something. Every time I am at the grocery store and I make somebody chuckle because I've told my version of a joke, dad jokes. I tell lots of dad jokes in public. I'm not afraid to try to make people laugh because I appreciate it when somebody does it for me. It makes me unbelievably happy when someone cracks a joke. I love it. Just try to keep them appropriate. That's all. Ain't hard. I just wanted to take a moment to say, these are hard times, and you're going to be asking yourself, how do I stay sane during these moments? This is driving me crazy. If you pay attention all the time, every day, it will drive you crazy. Because it's a fire hose. It's a fire hose of anger and rage and outrage, and just, it's overwhelming. It will drive you to PTSD. I feel like I barely survived the first Trump presidency with my sanity intact. January 6th was the final straw. That was it. That was too much. And now he's back. And he's back with a vengeance. And he pardoned everybody who took place in January 6th. That's pretty easily an impeachable offense. That is offering aid and comfort to insurrectionists who attempted to stop the peaceful transfer of power. But what do I know? Like I said, Enrique Tarrio was convicted of seditious conspiracy. Same with Stuart Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes of I forget which one, Proud Boys? Stuart Rhodes, Proud Boys, and then the other guy's 3%. I don't remember. They're both militia leaders. Militias, which, by the way, illegal in this country. Stuart Rhodes was pardoned. He's the chubby guy with the eye patch, and he wears glasses over the eye patch, which is weird. I've never seen anything like that before. But he wears his hold on, oh my gosh. Amber Alert activated. Hanford, Kings County. I don't know where that is. Where's Kings County? Amber Alert. That was an Orange Alert. Orange Alert? Amber Alert. Amber Alert. It's abducted children. Terrifying. Oh my God. Stuart Rhodes was on stage at Trump's little victory party in Vegas over the weekend. Lauren Boebert, House of Representatives, Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Colorado, gave him a guided tour of the Capitol last week. Seriously. It's all supposed to be outrageous. It is. It's crazy. It's wild. How are we supposed to keep our sanity? I don't actually know, but I can tell you this. Don't swim in it. Don't submerge yourself in news. Don't leave the news on in the background all day long. Don't doom scroll on, I doom scroll on Blue Sky now. Because there's very few conservative troll bots there. 30 million users as of last night for Blue Sky. Let's hear it for Blue Sky. Good job, man. It's a Twitter clone. similar in many, many ways. It's basically a social media platform that is ideal for things like breaking news. Don't doom scroll. You could scroll a little here and there. Make sure that your algorithm is also loaded up with, I follow the NBA, my favorite team, the Los Angeles Clippers. I also follow European soccer, specifically my Liverpool Reds in the English Premier League. I sprinkled in some sports, and I sprinkle in some entertainment news, and I make sure, and some science. I love it. A little fun science fact here and there. My friend Adrian sent me an article this morning on Denmark. Scientists in Denmark found a 66 million year old pile of vomit. And I'm like, well, that's the oldest house party in record. You can't wallow in the news, and you can't wallow in the feeling of helplessness. You got to do something. You got to have your red bucket. I have my red bucket, my Harbor Freight bucket that I bought. And I have a grippy thingy, a little extendo grippy thingy, so that I can just go out and pick up trash. Wherever I am, side of the road, in my apartment complex. I do it every once in a while. I just like take out my bucket and my little grabber, and I clean up something. And if somebody's tried to throw their trash away and missed, for example, this happens here every once in a while. They'll miss the can, miss the dumpster, and blam, it's all over the place. I'll pick that shit up and throw it in the dumpster. And then I go home and I wash my hands. Because wash your hands, kids. But why do I do that? It's not my job. But it is my job. It is our job as a human to do the thing in the moment that you know is right. And it's not always easy. But it always helps you get through the day. So get your red bucket. It's a metaphor. It could be anything. Choose the form of your cleanup, whatever your cleanup may be. Maybe you want to just cook 4 meals, cook a big pot of soup, and divvy it up into 4 plastic containers and give it out to those that are less fortunate. An amazing gesture. Be the best version of you can be, because that's how you get through the darkest times. I'm going to close out just by wishing everyone who listens to this all my best. I appreciate you all so very much for being on this journey with me. And that's my kids. My oldest daughter listens in New York. Former coworkers of mine that listen. Shout out to Heidi, who said hey to me. You guys are all good people. And I'm proud to know you. Or at least I'm proud to talk to you if I don't know you. We're in this together. So the best we can do, or the least we can do, is be good humans. The best you can do, just be the best you can be. And you make the world a better place. I'll be back at you before you know it. Thank you all so much. Love to all. Okay? Wrap you up in a big hug. And stay warm in these cold days. I appreciate you.